Nancy Strait, the elderly couple beaten in their home Wednesday during a robbery.
The couple had been married more than 65 years, had 6 children, 18 grandchildren. They were great-great-great-grandparents. They had been sick for the past week from food poisoning and the flu and had just agreed to move into an assisted living facility the day before they were attacked so viciously. Nancy died from her injuries. Bob is still in the hospital. The family talked only to the News on 6. Bob Strait was a paratrooper in World War II with the 101st Airborne, went in on D-Day and served the entire time, was awarded the Bronze Star. Nancy grew up in a log cabin in Kenwood, Oklahoma with no running water. She moved to Tulsa to work during the war, and after is when the two met.
They met 3 weeks and got married. Friday the 13th in 1946. And they've been married 65 years and 3 months.
Nancy was a homemaker who made quilts and homemade jellies. Bob was a welder by trade and did woodworking as a hobby. The two of them did everything together, grocery shopping, doctor's visits, you name it.
Well, Mama was the kind, if you came in, she would say, go to the kitchen and help yourself to some groceries, or let me get you something. And she fed everybody.
He's the kind of guy that if your car breaks down on the highway, he can fix it. And he would stop and fix your car.
They would do anything and help anyone, which makes it so hard to understand why the men who kicked in their back door beat them so viciously just to take their TV, $200 cash, and a BB gun. Nancy didn't survive. Bob has a broken jaw, cracked ribs, and a BB lodged in his face. They were already frail and in bad health.
That's why this was so senseless.
Oh, yeah.
97 pounds, a little over 100 pounds.
My dad.
Weak from having food poisoning, the flu. They would have done anything.
19-year-old Tyrone Woodfork is in custody. He lived just 4 houses down from the Straits. He was on a suspended sentence for a 2010 burglary conviction. Police say they are looking for 4 or 5 more men. As for the Straits' children, their focus is on the love their parents shared and helping their father cope.
That's all my father could say when he found out Mother had passed away was, I loved that woman.
I love that
old woman. So long I've loved that old woman.
He said we were...
The family wants to thank everybody for their good wishes and urges anyone who knows who these other suspects are to turn them in. That can be done through Crime Stoppers at 918-596-COPS.
President Obama is coming to Oklahoma next.
9 News at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Sells.
And I'm Donna Britt. There are now more arrests in the vicious triple murder in Ascension Parish.
But there are still missing pieces that have even the sheriff puzzled. Here's what we know now. On February 18th, deputies discovered the bodies of Robert Marchand, his wife, Shirley, and her son, Douglas Dooley, in Gonzales. 2 days later, detectives found the safe they believe the killers took from the Marchand home. In less than a month, the sheriff's office arrested 5 men in connection with the murder. Our Cheryl Mercedes reports.
It was a gruesome murder that put a quiet community on edge. Robert and Shirley Marchand and Doug Dooley were at their family home when detectives say 4 men talked their way inside, slit their victims' throats, and beat them over the head. Detectives believe the killers were after this safe and an estimated $500,000 in coins locked inside. It was later found emptied and abandoned in Livingston Parish.
We thought that was telling us something in an obscure area there. We talked about that earlier. Our understanding is it was a random dump.
Sheriff Jeff Wiley says the callous crime had everyone talking.
We had 100 tips. We had one that caught fire this past weekend. And we cultivated that tip. It was a source that gave us really distinct details.
Wiley says the tip led detectives first to Michael Akins, a former employee of the Marchand's home moving company. Akins was arrested and questioned, and detectives were able to get enough information to also arrest Rolando Stewart and Travis Moore Tuesday night, and Bernard and Devon James early Wednesday morning. Detectives do not believe Devon was at the Marchand's house, but they do think he is responsible for handling the safe and the money that is still missing.
We have some leads, silver coins, and gold coins, by the way, and we're not sure. That's just got to unfold here the next day or two. We still have a great deal of work to do, Cheryl, on the meticulous details of a first-degree murder case that could be a capital crime.
Akins, Stewart, Moore, and Bernard James are each charged with 3 counts of murder, armed robbery, and burglary. Devon James is charged as an accessory to those crimes. The 3 arrested last night have long criminal histories. You can find their rap sheets on our website, WAFB.com. George?
Okay, thank you, Cheryl.
Emotional tributes continue to pour in for 12-year-old Autumn Pasquale. And this morning we are hearing from friends and family members, and we are learning more about the two teenage brothers now charged with her murder. Action News reporter Catherine Scott is live in that community in Clayton with more. Catherine?
Matt, this community is tight-knit. We saw them pull together in their search for Autumn. Now they're pulling together in their grief. But there are a lot of questions about what led up to her death, as two teen brothers from this borough, ages 15 and 17, have been charged with first-degree murder. Grief, shock as stunned neighbors and concerned residents watched Autumn Pasquale's white BMX bike being wheeled out of a home on the 300 block of East Clayton Avenue. Law enforcement sources say it's the home of the accused teenagers, Justin and Dante Robinson, who are allegedly behind the 12-year-old's murder.
Autumn Pasquale was lured to the juvenile's home. It was for the purpose of obtaining parts for a BMX bike.
Autumn's body was found inside a recycling bin near the Robinsons' Clayton home around 10 o'clock Monday night. Authorities say detectives zeroed in on the two teens after their mother went to authorities about suspicious Facebook postings. Friends and relatives of the accused killers say they're well-known athletes at Clayton and Bankridge high schools, but have a history of stealing bicycles. A Robinson family member only had few words last night.
Family, anything you want to say? Just tell the family we give them our prayers, but we don't have no more comments.
Autumn's family members now speaking out, saying they believe an accurate tip of the 7th grader's whereabouts was provided to authorities earlier than the tip given by the suspect's mother. But her uncle says the first tip wasn't acted upon.
We're asking someone that oversees this above the county level, because those are the people involved. Please help us so that this tragedy, this unbelievable tragedy, does not happen to any other family.
And authorities so far have not said what was in those Facebook postings that raised red flags. And apparently Autumn did know these brothers, though investigators say it's unclear how well. The two teens are expected in court tomorrow. We're live in Clayton. Catherine Scott, Channel 6 Action News.
Catherine, thank you.
First at 6, this picture you see behind us tells a lot more than 1,000 words.
It's more than the face of a beating victim. It represents an entire community living in fear, scared they'll be the next victim in a small Mid-South town. I'm Claudia Barr.
I'm Richard Ransom. People in Clarksdale say gangsters are taking over, and what happened to this woman is just a perfect example.
I just knew that if I was going to live, I had to fight for it, and I was praying to the Lord.
To say Shirley Gordon is lucky to be alive is an understatement. Take a look at the Clarksdale woman's injuries. Both her arms bloody, her chest bruised, her forehead gashed, and her nose broken. It happened Wednesday after driving to this neighborhood convenience store. She went to pay but didn't have her credit card and drove back home to get it.
I came up and went in the house and got it, and I left my car running. And I came back out and my car was gone.
Before police arrived, Gordon was shocked to see someone driving her PT Cruiser coming from the dead end of her street.
And this guy came up and said, I saw this car down on the other end of the street, and said, I knew it was y'all's car, so I'm bringing it back to you.
Gordon offered the man a ride, and as soon as she got behind the wheel, he pulled her across the console and started beating her.
I asked him why was he hurting me so bad. He said, because I wanted to.
The man used a large rock, possibly like this one, to inflict most of her injuries.
I was praying and doing everything I knew I could do. That's why I fought him back with what I could do. I was popping him when I could.
With all her strength, she managed to use her feet to honk the car's horn and alert her husband inside the house. But the suspect got away.
It's hard for me, but I can't let it make a prisoner of my own home. He's not going to do that to me.
All right, take a good look at this picture. We need to find this guy. This is the suspect Clarksdale police say they're looking for. They say he apparently followed Shirley Gordon from the convenience store. Gordon says during the attack, the man took her credit card and used it twice Wednesday night to buy gas.
A search for answers this morning in Sarasota, Florida, after two British tourists are gunned down in a bizarre murder. James Cooper and James Kuzarists were shot and killed, and one suspect is already in custody today, but police say they're baffled by why the men were wandering around one of the city's most dangerous neighborhoods at 3 a.m. Fox's Rick Leventhal is following the story live in our New York City newsroom. Do we know what they were doing, Rick?
Under investigation, Allison, and of course, Florida is a state that relies heavily on tourism, so Sarasota's mayor is trying to reassure visitors that the city is not a dangerous place, saying these killings were an isolated incident. The 911 call came in at 3 a.m. Saturday about a man lying on the ground covered in blood. When police arrived at a housing project in one of Sarasota's toughest neighborhoods, they found two men, both dead, both shot in the back near a sea of shell casings. 25-year-old James Cooper and 24-year-old James Gonzalez were college students at the University of Sheffield in England. They were on a 2-week vacation in the U.S. Police say the men were seen about a week ago Sunday partying in bars downtown, and detectives are trying to figure out how they wound up several days later at the courts on the city's north side, an area known for high crime and gang activity. 24 hours after the shooting, police had a suspect in custody, 16-year-old Sean Tyson, who lives near the crime scene, now charged with 2 counts of homicide.
You see it all over the country. Youngsters such as this are carrying guns, and they have no fear when it comes to using them. Quite different from my generation. So it's not only happening here in Sarasota.
Officials actually had a public relations firm in London contact major tour groups to reassure visitors that the city is generally safe. So far, they say they aren't aware of any trip cancellations, but they're clearly concerned about Sarasota's image, Allison.
All right, scary stuff. Rick Leventhal, thanks so much.
Police in Cedartown have arrested 2 people in the murder of a Domino's pizza delivery driver.
Officers say 27-year-old Elizabeth Hutchison was stabbed repeatedly after delivering an order last night. And Fox 5's Paul Yates has more on that.
Cedartown police quickly mobilized help from the GBI and other law enforcement agencies, leading to the arrest of 2 suspects on a charge of murder.
She was killed right there in the doorway at 229 Thompson Street in Cedartown.
Police say Elizabeth Hutchison was stabbed repeatedly after delivering pizza to this house. Her attackers ran away. Officers conducting a traffic stop nearby heard screams and rushed to help. Investigators said they later arrested 18-year-old Khadidra Cook and another suspect who is 15.
They were trying to flee from a house on Lafayette Street in Cedartown, and we were able to get them surrounded, apprehend both of them in a field without any violent incident or any injury to suspects or officers.
The 2 were taken to jail on a charge of murder. The victim's fiance praised police for the quick arrest. Ms. Hutchison, he said, worked as a Domino's delivery driver to help support her 4-year-old daughter. Neighbors living near the scene of the attack were stunned.
It's just unbelievable to take an innocent woman's life on her job. All she was doing, coming to deliver a pizza, take care of her family.
Her fiance said Ms. Hutchison carried less than $20. In Cedartown, Paul Yates, Fox 5 News.
Developing tonight in Seminole County, a 50-year-old Winter Springs man is struggling to stay alive in the hospital tonight.
Investigators say 2 Sanford teenagers beat him with a hammer. Eyewitnesses saw the attack last Monday at Beardall Avenue and Lincoln Street. And while detectives say they have evidence to arrest the teens, they told Channel 9's Bianca Castro they don't know what triggered the attack.
2 guys beating the guy with a hammer, beating the white guy in the bushes there with a hammer.
A 911 caller details the brutal beating that happened inside these woods near the Sanford Airport last Monday. Investigators say 18-year-old Julius Bender and 19-year-old Jehaziel Israel beat a 50-year-old white male with a hammer inside his SUV. Then they dragged him to the woods and beat him some more, all in the middle of the afternoon.
If y'all don't stop hollering, I can't see him. Maybe they knocked him out or killed him. I don't know.
When deputies found him, he was barely conscious. They say after the beating, the duo took off in his SUV.
Investigators found the victim's SUV abandoned in this lot about half a mile away. It's similar to our vehicle here, except black. And inside, they found traces of blood.
Investigators have not been able to question the victim yet because of the severity of his injuries. They've asked us not to identify him, but we learned the man is from Winter Springs and does not have a criminal history. Right now, investigators aren't sure why he was targeted.
It's scary because I have kids.
Regina Gardner lives right down the road that she says is normally quiet. The crime has put her and her neighbors on edge.
I just hope that he do make it through and we could actually shed some light on what really happened.
In Seminole County, Bianca Castro, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
The victim is in critical condition at Orlando Regional Medical Center. Both teens face burglary and attempted murder charges.